So we talked a little bit about it earlier with like tracking and putting tags on.
Yeah.
What are tags like? Like, do you have to, once you put a tag on, do we now have like geolocators and like other technology on it that we can track it, or to like get information on that sea turtle again? Do we have to physically catch it and then see, oh yeah, this is Linda
Yeah.
right here? Or, is the technology we can just like,
It's tough because a lot of these places that do ocean conservation aren't well funded. We're talking about random coast of Costa Rica looking at leatherback turtles, right? So it depends on your funding of the research community or that institution. So you see the big ones out of New York. They have the big geo taggers on the great whites. That'll tell you everything. It'll tell you what it had for lunch that day,
wow.
kind of thing. But you go down to the Cayman Islands where the budget is a shoestring and you're working pretty much for free just for the experience of getting bit by an asshole. Is just big blunt metal tags in a flipper, and it has a
Yeah.
number on it, and you write the number down saying the characteristics of the turtle. Maybe it has a shark bite out of it.
Yeah.
That's karma, turtle, don't bite me, and maybe a shark won't. But you write it down, and then you can reference it 2 years when it comes back up. And so that's the really primitive version of it. But technologies that are coming out, it's like Fish ID is huge right now. So what you have is a GoPro mounted on this large bar, and on the bar is two laser pointers that are 1 foot apart. And so the GoPro is in the middle recording, and the laser is going right out, this big beam laser. That shows a foot. And so you can measure fish as you swim and scuba dive by taking video of it and seeing where the lasers range on it. And then later you can, in post-production, look at it on the computer and be like, well, this is this far away from this laser, that's about a foot. And you can go through hundreds of them in one dive. And that's how fish surveying works with photo ID. And so once you get that laser in the video, you can put it in this database and it'll look at certain scale colorations, and it'll be like a fingerprint. And so you can put that video back in and it'll be like, that's Carl from 08. How do you not recognize Carl, right? And so technology is getting crazy good with photo ID and measurements and geotagging and that kind of stuff. But for most marine conservation efforts, it's pretty primal. It's pretty, take a photo of it, put it in the database, maybe we'll see it again, kind of thing. But that's where the funding needs to be. There's, I don't want to say the wrong number, but there's under 5,000 blue whales, let's say, right? Why are we not tagging these suckers? Why are we not making sure that we keep tabs on them, right? I'm sure some institutions are, but why are we not putting all of our money towards these big species that make our planet what it is? There's so much talk about this is a great example. Pandas, dumb old pandas, not red pandas. Those are special in my heart. Don't diss them, all right? Only I can diss them. But pandas, like big old pandas. I remember I was in third year biology class, a fish studies class, ichthyology. And my prof put this big tuna up. You know how people hold tunas and they're like,
yeah.
And they stand there like, to go, or, they pull the shot. Anyways, they hold it. And he's like, how do we feel about this? And you're like, oh, it sucks. Like tuna are great, but they're delicious, whatever, right? Then he put up a photo of a panda being strung up by a hook with all these pokers around it. And there was bloody outcry. Like, why would you show us that photo? That's awful. Look at all that blood. Like, how dare you? Like, prof heard it all and took it. He's like, that tuna is 3 times as endangered as that panda you just saw. But you have outcry for the panda. But the tuna is going to be extinct before the panda is. And when animals get to a certain point, we know they're going to go extinct. There's no coming back. Like the vaquita, it's done. Unless there's a pod somewhere we don't know about, it's over for them. It just physically, you can't make them mate enough in their lifetimes to repopulate it. It just won't happen. So with that tuna and panda example, we like to care about things that have fur, that are mammals, that we can put personalities on. The panda is so cute and cuddly, and it's hung up by a hook, right? There's outcry about it. Whereas the tuna, which indirectly is more endangered, there's little outcry at all for it. And so it's interesting what humans value in that certain way, right?
Yeah.
About what we perceive as cruelty.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sorry, a little tangent there, but that's these are the interesting points of the field.
Yeah, and it's great perspective. How often do organizations work together to like try to solve these problems?
It depends, once again, who has the sexier budget. You know, who just got granted $45,000 to go tag great whites in South Africa compared to $12,000 looking at sea slugs like nudibranchs,
Yeah.
right? Well, great whites are the sexy animal. Everyone wants to work with big pelagic animals, you know, yours truly does. Whereas sea slugs are like, it's not really that cool, right? However, sea slugs are instrumental in the whole ecosystem, as all animals are, but the funding goes towards those keystone species that are very, you know, Blue Planet, you know, Sir David Attenborough's talking all about kind of thing.
So it's interesting
Which isn't wrong.
Yeah. So it's interesting how like as humans our just view of what we think about things, whether it be from like influenced by culture or just like what we're physically more attracted to or whatever, kind of drives funding or decisions on where we decide to put priority.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at that. It's, you know, it's one of the biggest issues that science deals with. And, you know, what's even harder is that the animals we don't know about. You know, deep sea animals are really developing subject and field right now in science. These, you know, deep sea vents and like bloodworms and crabs that live at 10 kilometers down. Like that's really interesting. And when we do dredges or we do excavation, we bring it up and we see that there's pollution in them from us, you know, 10 kilometers down, and they have plastic particles in them. It really makes you think that no one's safe. None of these animals are safe from us. They're all getting affected. And where our funding needs to be is the conservation with it and not the activism of it. Is how can we make the most species survive? And that's where the funding needs to be cut down the middle and given to a blanket statement, right? And this might be a little polarizing, but when Trump came into power and took themselves out of the climate change budget, a lot of these small institutions suffered, and a lot of the research had to be stopped because there was no money in these small areas. And because of that, it was really tough to reignite it later on when there was money put towards it. And so during COVID, during the pandemic, it was really tough because a lot of this money went to anthropogenics, like human, you know, we got to get this vaccine going, which once again, 100% with. But because of that, these blue whales, these rhinos, these animals were put to the side and said, we'll deal with you guys later. We got to worry about our own species right now.
Yeah.
And so that funding got sucked dry from all these different institutions and put towards that, which once again, fully on board with. You know, I have a 90-year-old grandmother and I wanted her to be vaccinated as soon as possible. My friends, my family, all that stuff. I'm just saying that the money is never divvied up evenly. It's always ever changing and flowing, a lot like the ocean. You know, poetic. There you go.
Very poetic.
There's your tagline right there.
So we've had